In the humid forests of eastern Mexico, a climbing orchid wins its way up the trunks of trees, reaching for the light. For most of the year, it is unremarkable, a tangle of thick green vines and waxy leaves. But once a season, it produces pale yellow flowers that open for only a single morning. If they are not pollinated within hours, they wither and fall. From this fragile bloom comes one of the most beloved flavors on earth. This is vanilla, the orchid that took over dessert. The story begins with the Totonac people, who lived along the Gulf Coast of Mexico long before Europeans arrived. They were the first to cultivate the vine and to coax flavor from its slender green pods. According to their legend, the orchid sprang from the blood of a princess forbidden to marry. When the Aztecs conquered the Totonacs, they demanded vanilla as tribute, blending it with cacao to make a dark, bitter drink reserved for emperors and warriors. When Spanish conquistadors reached the court of Montezuma in the early 1500s, they tasted this drink and carried both cacao and vanilla back across the ocean. For 3 centuries, Mexico held a near-total monopoly on vanilla. The reason was hidden in biology. The vanilla orchid depends on a specific partner to reproduce, a small native bee found only in Mexico, along with certain hummingbirds. Without these pollinators, the vines could grow lush and tall anywhere in the tropics, yet they would never set a single pod. Plantations in other colonies flowered beautifully and produced nothing. The secret remained locked until 1841, on a French island in the Indian Ocean then called Bourbon, now known as Reunion. There, a 12-year-old enslaved boy named Edmund Albius discovered a way to pollinate the flower by hand. Using a thin sliver of bamboo and a simple flick of the thumb, he lifted the tiny flaps separating the male and female parts and pressed them together. His technique was so effective that it is still used on nearly every vanilla farm in the world today. With hand pollination, vanilla could finally spread. Cuttings traveled to Madagascar, to the islands of the Indian Ocean, and across the tropical belt. Madagascar became the heart of the trade, and to this day it grows roughly 3/4 of the world's supply. Yet the work remains stubbornly manual. Each flower must be pollinated by hand on the one day it opens, often by workers moving through the vines at dawn. After pollination, the green pods take 8 to 9 months to mature on the vine. But the harvested bean still has no scent at all. The flavor we know must be created through a long and demanding cure. The beans are killed with heat, often plunged into hot water, then wrapped and left to sweat. For weeks they are laid out in the sun by day and bundled in cloth by night, slowly turning dark, supple, and fragrant. The whole process can take 3 to 6 months, and it is during this transformation that hundreds of aromatic compounds develop, the chief among them a molecule called vanillin. All of this labor explains a simple fact. Vanilla is the second most expensive spice in the world, surpassed only by saffron. A single pound of cured beans can cost hundreds of dollars when harvests fail or storms strike Madagascar. Because true vanilla is so costly, the vast majority of vanilla flavor consumed today is not from the orchid at all. It is synthetic vanillin, produced from wood pulp byproducts or petrochemicals at a tiny fraction of the price. Less than 1% of vanilla flavoring in the world comes from real beans. And so a strange irony defines this crop. The flavor is everywhere, in ice cream, in perfume, in soda and pastry and candle, woven so deeply into the idea of sweetness that we use the word vanilla to mean plain and ordinary. Yet the genuine article remains one of the rarest and most labor-intensive harvests on the planet, grown by hundreds of thousands of smallholder farmers who tend each vine and pollinate each flower by hand. From a single morning's bloom in a Mexican forest to a global industry worth billions, the journey of vanilla is a reminder that the most familiar tastes can hide the most extraordinary stories.